The sun was starting to go down when I hobbled out to the dumpster, balancing garbage bags against my crutches, and probably looking like a baby deer learning to walk, if that deer were drunk and two-legged and carrying several bags of garbage. The scorched earth near the dumpster was the same as I had left it, blackened down to the subsoil. Somewhere just past the start of these trees was another patch of smouldering remains, one that I neglected to mention to the police report, one that might look to a casual observer like the remains of a human body. Before I turned to go back in, I noticed something odd on the side of the dumpster. At first, I thought it was a child's toy, stuck to the dirty outside wall, but then I realized that it was moving, breathing, crawling, slowly, and eating the gooey drippings off the rust of the dumpster. The thing looked like a giant tomato caterpillar, about 8 inches long, and as the sun went down, I swear I could see the thing give off its own light source. The squishy caterpillar thing didn't seem to mind my presence, and even let me feed it an old starburst that I had in my pocket, a yellow, because, like all people, I hate the yellow starburst. The critter, a bioluminescent, a little brighter, as it ate the taffy, and I gave it a gentle pet. Its hide wasn't as wet as it appeared. In fact, it seemed to be covered in tiny clear hairs. "You're not so bad," I said, while it nibbled on the candy. "Not everything out here needs to be scary, huh?" It wiggled and crawled away to a place on the back of the dumpster with more gunk, and I went back to the gas station. Marlborough has taken up smoking again. He'd quit for a while, but then explained that the suffering he was causing himself by not smoking grossly outweighed the suffering he was causing as through second-hand smoke, and mathematically speaking, it didn't make any sense for him to quit. I had hoped he was beginning to shed his cultist philosophy after the entire compound mysteriously vanished, but now I'm starting to fear that he can't be rehabilitated. Oh well. Today was a pretty normal, well, not normal, but average day at the gas station. We had some strange people visit. We had some normal people visit too. And along the way I zoned out, finishing a book I'd been reading, made some boring journal entries, and even got online to browse the internet for a while. There's another package sitting under the counter, addressed to me from a return address I don't recognize. I took a gamble with the last package, and it turned out to be something great. But that was before Spencer tried to kill me, and once again my gut is telling me not to open it. I got a phone call today at the store a few hours before sundown. It was pretty late, hard to say what exactly. Marlborough was asleep in his hammock in the dry storage room, and I couldn't remember the last customer. It was somewhere in the last temporal wasteland between dusk and dawn. "Hello?" Jack listened very carefully. You don't know me, but what I'm about to tell you will save your life, but only if you follow my instructions and do everything exactly what I say. In the drawer to your right is a pencil and paper. Get 'em. And write this down. These are the rules to your survival. 1. Do not leave the gas station. Do not go outside under any circumstances. 2. Do not drink the tap water. Don't even touch it. Don't smell it. Don't look at it. It's boiled water from here on out. 3. Don't trust your eyes. 4. Barricade the... Hang on. Where'd you say the pen was? He sighed. "In a drawer to the right." "My right or your right?" I asked. "Your right? How the hell would it be by my right? I'm on the phone." "Right." Then I heard a car horn honk. It was an old widow, Mrs. Sistrunk. She's another local, somewhere in the area of 100 years old, if I had to guess, and at this point not much more than a skeleton wrapped in ill-fitting skin suit with vibrant lipstick smeared all around the general mouth area. After her husband died, Mrs. Agatha Sistrunk had taken to buying and collecting sports cars and oversized trucks and racing them around the outskirts of town at all hours of night. her most recent purchase was a brand new Ford FF550 with a painting of the Hulk in all of its green, smashing glory along the side. In person, she was a sweet old lady, no taller than 4.5 feet. She wore special shoes to reach the gas pedals and always came to this gas station to fill up because she knew I'd help her pump her gas, something she had never done before and wasn't interested in learning how to do. One sec, I said to the voice on the other end of the phone. Be right back. Mrs. Stunk needs me to top her off. Listen to me, the voice growled. Do not go outside. You go outside and you're dead, do you hear me? I hear what you're saying, I said. I grabbed my crutches and got ready to leave. But I don't work for you. With that, I hung the phone and went outside to help Mrs. Sistrunk. Old Agatha was happy to see that I was back at work. Apparently Marlborough made her nervous. She said he was flirting at her and wouldn't stop smoking when he pumped her gas. Before she left, she gave me a case of empty light beers and asked if I would be a lamb and toss these for her. I can't say no to Agatha. When I got round back to toss her trash, I noticed something incredible. The glowworm from this morning had formed itself into an enormous cocoon against the back of the dumpster. I can't explain why exactly, but this filled me with some sort of, I don't know, what means the exact opposite of existential dread, euphoria, existential hope. Is this what optimism feels like? Again, I know I don't make any sense, but seeing the weird garbage-eating caterpillar thing begin the brave journey of transformation gave me this tingling feeling in my soul, like this was some kind of sign. Just when the caterpillar thought his world had come to an end, he became a butterfly. My world has felt like it was something to an end for a while too. Little buddy, maybe I'm also on the verge of a metamorphosis. Maybe the world doesn't have to be strange and scary. Maybe it can be strange and cool. I decided that whatever hatched from the cocoon, be it a butterfly or a moth or a monster, I was going to name it Starburst. I hobbled myself back to the gas station and tossed one last look over my shoulder at the dumpster to see that one of the raccoons was stuffing the cocoon in its mouth. It devoured the whole thing in a couple bites before making eye contact with me and dashing off into the woods. Diego came into the store for his late shift, and I asked how I was feeling. I told him that the pain was tolerable. He nodded. Like that was the kind of answer he was looking for, and I went back to reading my book. A few minutes later, the man with the beard came into the gas station. I almost didn't recognize him as the same man that went off into the woods after the creature he called an anglerfish. He had lost a lot of weight, his beard wasn't nearly as well kept, and he smelled like he bathed in a tub of pee that someone farted in. Hey, I said when he came in. You're still alive, cool. Did I mention that the man was holding a pistol when he walked in? The thought crossed my mind for the briefest moment that I wonder what happened to his big gun. I didn't have time to ask. He quickly found the locks on the doors, used them, then covered the short distance to my register. Gun rendered a name to my face. I told you not to go outside. You're lucky you're even alive, he screamed before grabbing the store phone and yanking it out of the wall. He threw it to the ground with a loud satisfying smash and asked, who else is in the building? Well, let me see, I said, thinking. There's you, me, and probably the other cashier, unless he went into town again. I saw one other car out there, Toyota. That yours? No, that's gotta be Diego. Right on cue, Diego walked in from the back and froze at the sight of the bearded man still pointing a gun at my face. Diego might have been tempted to take action if he hadn't been carrying a 55 lb bag of corn over his shoulder. Instead, he just raised his hand free and said softly, Hey man, we don't want trouble. If you're after the cash, go ahead and take it. Ain't no heroes here. The bearded man laughed in an obnoxious way and said, Well, there's at least one. My name is Benjamin, and I'm here to save your sorry asses. Diego and I made eye contact. A lot can be conveyed in just an instant if you know the person you're looking at. He was trying to see what I wanted to do. I was trying to tell him to relax. This was neither the worst nor the weirdest thing to happen in that room. Okay, I said. What do you need us to do, Benjamin? There's something evil under this gas station, and nobody is leaving here until I understand what it is, because I know that someone is working with that thing. I've seen it in my dreams. I know you have too. Well, he was one about one thing. Right then, Marlborough walked out of the dry storage closet, stretching and yawning. Benjamin snapped him into a chokehold before he knew what was going on and jammed the gun against his head. Are you listening to me? Benjamin screamed. I just told you that the world as you know it is just a facade. There's a devil here, and one of you is working for him. He looked at both of us for some kind of reaction, but I don't think he got the one he was looking for. I just shrugged and said, neat. Right then, Marlborough surprised the pants off everybody by half yelling, half laughing. Let's do this, I'm not afraid to die, before reaching up, grabbing the gun, pressed against his head, and pulling the trigger. I've seen a lot of weird stuff working at that shitty gas station. I've been nearly killed once or twice. I've watched the same guy die over and over in front of me. I've seen things that may or may not be real, because I can't dream, and sometimes I wonder if my mind is making up for that in other ways. I've seen ball lightning, people with blue skin, a man with two hairs, talking dog, an Elvis impersonator that may have been a little too convincing. I've seen so much weird stuff in that room, but this was the first time I'd ever saw a look of surprise that on anybody's face, and it was absolutely priceless. What the hell is wrong with you people? Benjamin said, backing away from us. Ain't nothing wrong with us, said Marlborough, relieved to be free from the headlock. What the hell is wrong with your gun? How did you know I was out of ammo? I didn't. There was a loud thud as Diego dropped the sack of corn. He was the next to talk. I think maybe you should get out of here, pal, while you still can. Afraid I can't do that, Benjamin responded. Not until this thing is dead, and not until I heard a wet thunk before I saw anything, before Benjamin went limp and hit the ground. When my eyes caught up to the situation, I hoped that what I was seeing was a hallucination, but the look of fear in Diego's face told me that this wasn't the case. The man standing behind Benjamin, holding a bloodied shovel, the man that just saved our bacon, was smiling a toothy, delighted smile that he only ever made after inflicting the kind of pain he'd just inflicted. Hey, Jack, said Spencer Middleton. Ya miss me? He stuck Diego and Marlborough in the walk-in freezer. Marlborough is and always has been a go-with-the-flow kind of guy, so he went to the freezer voluntarily. Diego put up a fight, which is why he ended up bruised and bloody and barely clinging to consciousness. From what I could see, Benjamin looked like he might be dead. At least he was out cold in a slowly spreading pool of his own blood. Spencer pulled a couple of chairs out of storage and placed them both in front of the cash register facing one another. He made the horrible hobble over and sit down in one. Then he spun the other around to sit on it backwards, like a cool school teacher from the 90s. I just want you to know, he said, I'm not mad at you, and neither is he. He wanted me to relay that message. Spencer's face still had specks of blood on it from where he had beaten the shit out of Diego. Your boss, I said? Yeah, he was upset at you for what you did to Kiefer and wanted me to show you what happens to bad children. You were supposed to meet him, but then that got all cocked up, huh? I guess it wasn't my time to die, I answered. Well, when the smile faded from Spencer's face, he shook his head at me and said, Die? No. You weren't supposed to die. You can't die. We need you. I saw some movement behind Spencer, but tried not to break eye contact. It was Benjamin. He was alive, and right now the best shot at getting out of this. He was moving slowly on the ground, regaining consciousness, miraculously not making any noise. I tried to keep Spencer distracted. Your boss, tell me more about him. How did he find you? Who is he? Spencer chuckled. Oh, he's got a lot of names, but you'll meet him soon enough. And this time, we will not be interrupted. And my friends? I don't care, they can join us, they can die, makes no difference. By the way, Jack, I wanted to ask, did you guys ever figure out who placed that bomb? I laughed softly. Yeah, the police took it, they know it was you. They know everything, well, almost everything, okay. The grand scheme of things, they know very little, but they do know that you try to kill me and you put a bomb in the gas station. Spencer shook his head again. Wrong on both accounts. If I wanted you dead, you'd be dead. And a bomb? Seriously? Not my style. I think he had more to say to me, but I'll never know, because right then Benjamin yanked his head back and whipped a knife blade the size of a large chihuahua across his neck, neatly slicing his head halfway off. Blood erupted out of a couple spurts, then stopped, and Spencer Middleton was no more. That's what you get, taunted Benjamin as he flung Spencer's lifeless body onto the floor, his blood pouring out and mixing with all the rest. It was going to suck for whoever had to clean up all of this. When we opened the freezer, we found that Marlborough had gone all bad nurse on Diego, sticking clumps of frozen meat all over his face for the swelling. I'll make us a fresh pot of coffee. We took seats around the table by the window, just in case noisy passers-by decided to pass by. We put a tarp over Spencer and moved the wet floor sign next to it. For about half an hour, we all just sat and drank coffee in pregnant silence. When we were all done with our third cups, Diego finally spoke. His jaw was swollen to hell, but he was still able to pronounce his words with only minor difficulty. So why haven't you called the cops yet? This was clearly self-defense. I've got the face to prove it. Yes, said Benjamin, after some lengthy deliberation. Yeah, let's call them. That would be good. But tomorrow, you and me need to have a serious talk, Jack. I called Arnold from the only phone in the building with any reception, Spencer's cell. The deputy listened to what I told him, just the most basic and simplified version of what happened that night, and he said he would be on his way right after he got out of bed and put some clothes on. I called the owners next, and they were not very happy. They told me next time I should call them first. Next time? Right now the others at their booth, staring out the window, and I'm still on my laptop documenting the night while the memories are still fresh. I know this isn't over yet. I think the gas station is going to have to close for a day or two, but when it opens again, I'll be here, writing my journals, doing my best to ignore anyone who walks through those doors. I guess that means this is to be continued. Part A. It's been about an hour since my last post. We haven't had any customers yet, and if the gas station weren't so active crime scene, I might have asked one of the other employees to squeegee the large pool of blood into the drains by the cooler. For those of you out of the loop, you may want to catch up by reading my earlier posts. I don't know what Arnold's grooming routine looks like, and I have to assume he spends at least 20 minutes a day in mustache prep, but even factoring in that should have made it to the gas station by now. I called him a few minutes ago to make sure he hadn't gone back to bed, to make sure I hadn't imagined the phone call in the first place. The conversation went something like this. Yeah, hey Arnold, you on your way? Still tight. We had a little emergency. Okay. The road between town and you is blocked off. Okay, which one? All of them. Even the service roads. It must have been a freak storm. I've never seen anything like it. All the roads are covered in trees. But they aren't, fallen. The trees growing in the middle of the street. I've never been trying to find a way around all morning, but I've given up. I'm about to head through on foot. Just to be clear, you said you heard from Spencer Middleton last night. Has he made any other contact? Well, actually, he's here. He came in, and some stuff happened, and now he's dead. What? You're telling me there's a dead body in the gas station? I already told him all of this. Man, I really miss Tom. Did you not realize that? I'm sorry, he answered. When the phone rang earlier, I had just woken up from this beautiful, weird dream of a dark god. Dark god, calling me into his eternal grace, taking me up by the hand and guiding me into his blessed oblivion, freeing me from all the pain and suffering of this mortal prison, nurturing me like a child and inviting the world into a realm of higher existence, allowing me the privilege to devote myself to his glorious servitude. Okay, I said. I guess I'll see you when you get here. I entered the call and checked my charge on the phone. The battery was sitting close to 50%. What's the deal, Lucille? Asked Benjamin. Arnold is on the way here on foot, but we might have another problem. Holy shit. You guys see that? Diego asked, pointing out the window. I couldn't quite make it out from here. I was seated behind the counter, and I didn't feel like hobbling over a corpse just for a look. What is it? I asked. There's a bunch of naked people out on the road walking this way, Diego answered. The hell you say? Said Marlborough, who suddenly taken interest. He pressed his face against the window for a better look. Those aren't just any people, I know them. That's Marla and Tyler, and there goes Fred, at least. Those were the names I gave them. Benjamin crossed to the frozen drink machine, throwing over his shoulder a quick, "They friends of yours?" "Family, actually. Well, they were anyway before they disappeared. But I don't remember them looking like that." "Like what?" I asked, starting to get an uneasy feeling like. He took a second to find the words, but all came up was, "They look funny." They continued walking closer to the gas station, close enough by now that I could see them. At least a dozen people stark naked. The closer they got, the more detailed I could make out, the more I wish I couldn't. Their eyes were milky and pale, maggots crawling out of infested crevices all over their bodies, their skin dirty and covered in lesions and bruises. Marlborough was certainly not wrong. They looked funny. I'm sure you know the Hollywood-style zombie walk, the shuffle of an undead body with impaired motor skills. The scariest part of these people approaching the front doors of the gas station was that they were walking 100% perfectly normally, just a bunch of decaying nudists out on a stroll. There was a loud crash that snapped us out of probably rude staring. We were all turned to see that Benjamin had pulled the frozen drink machine to the ground and was attempting to drag it over Spencer towards the front doors. The sticky syrup concoction spilled out all over the ground, mixing with the congealed blood and coating the floor in a red and brown purple vicious soup. There's no way we won't have an insect problem after this. Marlborough and Diego didn't have to ask what was going on. They instantly knew the plan and began yanking down whatever fixtures weren't bottled in place and piling them up in a barricade against the glass doors. I would have helped it if it weren't for this broken leg. Besides, it looks like they've got this under control. You boys think you can stay alive long enough for help to arrive? Benjamin asked. We've got almost 90 years' experience staying alive between the three of us, Diego joked. Benjamin directed his next question to me. You got any weapons in this place? I told him no. The only thing I have is a half-empty canister of gasoline and the supply closet and some really hard jerky. But he was welcome to whatever he could find. That's when he started MacGyvering some spears out of chair legs and broken glass from the drink case. About 10 minutes ago, the gas station lost power. Not really would be a great time to have a giant pet glow-in-the-dark butterfly. Now would really be a great time to have a giant pet glow-in-the-dark butterfly. Stupid raccoons. It's been pretty quiet, save for the wet guttural whispering coming from those people outside. Benjamin is still searching for weapons while Diego finds things to push against the front door, and assuming he hasn't fallen asleep, Marlborough has taken the back door. I was feeling pretty useless after Benjamin confiscated my crutches, so I figure I would take this opportunity to type up the account of what happened, just in case Arnold gets here too late. In the spirit of preparedness, I should say a few things to whoever finds this message, or is it whomever. I never could get that right. First to the owners, I'm sorry about the mess. Second to her, I'm sorry we didn't run into each other one last time. Third, to whomever keeps dumping tar into the ditch outside of the gas station, I hate you. I guess that's all I have to say. It's been a weird, crazy ride. This is Jack from the gas station, signing off one last time. I didn't die! Sorry it's been so long since the last update. I just got my laptop from the police. Special thanks to whomever gilded me, by the way. I don't know what to do with Reddit Gold, but it brings warmth to my soul. I know you guys probably wondering what happened. Well, last week I met with a dark god. We were in that gas station without power for hours. It's cold this time of year, so we huddled together around a plate of scented candles and ate pork rinds and canned beans. Mulbar almost dozed off a couple of times before Diego decided to loot the energy pills behind the counter. He handed them out, and as we took a few, washing them down with cold coffee and telling ourselves it was for alertness, but all they did for me was create a heartbeat arrhythmia. That sure would be funny if those things finally broke in here just to find the four of us dead from heart attacks. Well, not funny, but you know. Diego tried to strike up a conversation with Benjamin a couple times, but the bearded man wasn't very social. You army? Nah. I know a guy. He was a ranger in the army. You remind me of him. Alright. Those things out there, any idea what we're dealing with? You ever seen anything like that before? Nah. You got any family? Nah. I checked Spencer's phone throughout the day, but it wasn't getting any service anymore. Tried 911 a few times, but even that wouldn't go through. When the battery got to 5%, I turned it off. We might need it later for an emergency call. Eventually, the adrenaline and the pills started to wear off, and I remembered that my leg was still healing from a complex fracture, and maybe I should have agreed to come back to work so soon. I did the cripple walk back to the front desk to grab my meds. While I was there, I spotted the still unopened gift wrap packets on a shelf beneath the register. I decided to ignore it and instead grabbed the employee whiskey bottle that was behind it. We told ourselves it was for our nerves, but all it did for me was give me an even worse heartbeat arrhythmia. A few more hours passed. After we killed the first bottle, we opened another. Then Marlborough got to the energy drinks before we needed mixers. At some point, the former cultist pulled out his stash and lit a joint, and without asking, I might add, turned to the whole station in a hot box. I couldn't remember if I'd taken my pain meds yet, so I went ahead and took them. As the sun started to set, I had two thoughts competing for the first place in my mind. First, it sure is getting dark early these days, and second, I think we might be getting a little too effed up to handle what's about to happen. Time became even more illusionary than normal once the laptop died and we had no way of knowing how long we'd been waiting. We started measuring the time in the candles. Our snack food and morale raced each other to depletion. At some point, Diego got me away from the others to ask what I thought about Benjamin. I told him he was the nicest guy that had pointed a gun in my face all week, but Diego told me that he had a weird feeling about him. I reminded Diego that he had killed Kefler a couple of times and maybe he should get off his high horse. Hey, Benjamin yelled at us from across the room. What are you two talking about? Anime allied? I think he bought it. Get back over here. I don't need any more dead bodies piling up tonight. Benjamin was in the corner, warming his hands over the candle plate. It was the only source of light in the building, and was casting shadows that could maybe be described as spooky if it wasn't in such a serious life or death situation. Some of those shadows looked like faces smiling, laughing at us idiots. One or two looked like presidents. One of them asked me what time it was, and holy crap, I was tripping. You okay, man? Diego asked, snapping me back into reality. I honestly have no idea. Did you ever figure out who placed that bomb? I asked Spencer Middleton in a gurgle. What do you mean? I thought you did it. Not me. Bombs aren't my style. Who do you know that can build a bomb? Hey, where's Marlborough? I asked. Benjamin picked up his spear, formerly my crutch that he had paracorded his knife to, and asked, Who the hell is Marlborough? Is there someone else here? Marlborough, the other employee. I looked at Diego, who just shrugged and said, I don't know no Marlborough. How many of them pills did you take? Had I imagined Marlborough this entire time? I just Tyler dirted this guy into existence? I tried to sit down on the top, but it turned me It turned into me lying on my back while the room spun. I couldn't feel the human debris squish beneath the tarp fabric as I rested my head. How much of this was real, anyway? You're losing it, you know. I know. All these years ago, the first doctor tried to prepare me for life with my condition. There weren't that many other cases before me, so they didn't know exactly how everything would play out. But every case had a few of the same side effects. Of course, there would be weight loss, fatigue, headaches, all the signs of normal physical illness early on. As the condition developed, there would be more interesting side effects, hallucinations, memory loss, the works. And of course, I can't be properly anesthetized. They tried in other cases to induce medical comas, but that just messed things up further. I'm always wide awake and halfway lucid during surgery. If you want to know what that's like, I'll tell you the truth. It's boring. You know what? Usually when I hurt someone bad enough, they pass out from the pain. They gave me a couple years tops. I hadn't been keeping track of the time. Right then, Marlborough walked into the room, sipping up his fly. Presumably he had just come from the bathroom, but who really knows? I pointed at him and yelled, "That guy, you see him, right? It's Marlborough." Diego looked where I was pointing and then back at me. "What, you mean Jerry?" "Oh, that's right, he has a real name. I hate it when he calls me Marlborough." Benjamin set the improvised spear down and turned his attention back to the fire. "You better get him under control." "You should open your package," said Spencer. "Hey, wait a sec. Aren't you supposed to be dead?" "Well, aren't you supposed to be dead?" he said back. "Touché, Spencer." "Who are you talking to?" asked Diego. "Spencer," I answered. "Well, stop that. It's freaking us out." 2 candles burned from start to finish before Benjamin decided that help wasn't on the way, and our best dance of survival was to fight it out with the things outside. I disagreed, but Benjamin informed me, in his own polite way, that it wasn't up for a vote. He peeled back the layers of the barricade just enough to get a view of the outside. Once we knew that what we were dealing with, we could come up with a better game plan. Only he couldn't actually get a good look because something was blocking the view, something just on the other side of the glass doors. Benjamin yanked the rest of the barricade down and took a few steps back to marvel at it. "Well, you don't see that every day," said Jerry. "Nope, I can't do it. I am sorry. His name's Marlborough." We were trapped here inside the gas station. On the other side of the doors, a network of trees had grown together, twisted into knots, and pressed against the glass. They were so densely pressed into a single wall of tree trunks that not even light could get through. For all we knew, it could have been daytime outside. "We have to get out of here," said Benjamin. We checked the back door, but it was the same thing. I often wondered how long a person could invite inside the gas station without any supplies coming in. I had run the scenarios in my head a million times. On boring nights, what else is there to do? I had run the thought experiment for countless different contexts. How long could I survive in the gas station where transported back in time to another planet, if I were a zombie apocalypse, etc.? What I had deduced was that under ideal circumstances I could live off the supplies on hand for 4 years if I could find a source of water. 6 weeks if not. These were not ideal circumstances. We had already smashed up, weaponized, or eaten most of our supplies. If we were trapped here, it wouldn't take long for us to all donor party on each other. While I was pondering this in the hallway by the cooler, we heard the sounds of glass shattering from the main room. Benjamin raised his spear and led the way back. The wall of trees still there on the side of the doors. Our mess was still there. Everything was as we left it, with one exception. The tarp was pulled back, and Spencer's body was gone. A series of footprints coagulated in blood, leading from where he should have been to the shattered glass on the front door, like he had just gotten up, walked over, and was absorbed into the trees. I need you boys to think real hard, Benjamin said. Is there any other way out of this place? Well, Marlborough stuttered. I shot him a look and shook my head, but I guess he couldn't see in the dim candlelight, or maybe he was just too dense to understand. There is that hole. Hole? What hole? The hole in the secret room back here in the past the cooler. Secret room? Yeah, right over here. Marlborough pointed at the black space on the wall where the door used to be. The owners had decided the smartest thing they could do when they found out about the secret room was remove the door, build a good old-fashioned wall, and forget all about it. But it only works if everyone agrees to forget about it. Marlborough, you're telling me there's a secret room behind there, and a hole in that room that we can maybe fit inside and escape? Why didn't you boys tell me this earlier? He didn't wait for an answer. Benjamin went straight into the wall and started smashing it into pieces with his spear, and then after it got down a little, his bare hands. After a minute, the wall was once again a door. While Benjamin lit and placed a few candles around the giant hole in the floor, I grabbed Diego and pulled him aside. Hey, I said, I should tell you something. I opened that package, the one that looked like a present. Yeah, he said. Yeah, I said. I'm not sure at what point I'd finally cracked and opened it, but I had been carrying around the content of the box in my pocket for at least one candle. Just like last package, there was a note with this one. It read, I didn't expect you to use my letter as part of the story, but thanks, lol. I didn't mind you using it. That was very neat. I liked it. I was very surprised. Thank you. I enjoyed your stories. I know it could be really great from the beginning. That's why I wrote what I did. I was surprised, but in a good way, that you used my letter. Lol. Thank you. I'm honored. Really honored. Underneath that letter was a small handgun. I knew enough about pistols from playing video games to know how to check the clip, and sure enough, it was loaded. I showed the gun to Diego, who said, That's a Ruger 380. Is that good? Well, it's a gun, so it'll probably have more stopping power than a chair leg. Why didn't you give it to him? Diego gestured at our fearless leader. I don't know or trust him. Good point. Here, I said, trying to hand it over. I'm not a gun guy. No way, man, you keep it. I got both legs. You need it more than me. Benjamin yelled at us from the secret room. You're ready or what? Time to see what's down here. Then he jumped in. I may have neglected to mention that it was a 10-foot drop to the cave below. I also may have taken a little pleasure in the sound of him crash landing, the pain moan that followed. For the rest of us, we rolled up the tarp and put some knots into it like a poor man's rope ladder. And I have to give credit to tarps. Those things are incredibly useful. We had spent hours above ground in a room with a dead body, unrefrigerated food, and Benjamin's body odor. We were all eating canned beans, and I think somebody probably threw up in the garbage can. My point is this, we were all smelling pretty bad, to the point where I was doubting that I still had a sense of smell. But once we went into that hole, I knew for a fact we hadn't. The smell down there made our gas station funk seem like cologne. The very worst putrid odours from the storm drains around the station were nothing compared to this. Is it possible for a smell to be heavy? Because that's the best word I can think of for it. Not thick, just heavy. Diego and Marlborough took turns barfing. When they were done, Benjamin handed out the torches he had made from the gasoline-soaked rags and chair legs. I don't know what that guy's deal is, but he sure is crafty. The cave was a straight tunnel, starting under the gas station and heading away from town. It was plenty tall for all of us to stand comfortably, and there was a slight incline, taking us downhill as we walked further into the hole. What the hell is this? Benjamin asked after about 20 feet. He waved his torch at the wall, and I saw that somebody had spray-painted a message on the cave wall in red. It said in shaky handwriting, Rita the raccoon ate the cocoon. I said it a few times in my head and was pissed off at just how close it came to rhyming, but didn't. Like a song slightly off key, the handwriting was eerily familiar, especially the capital R, but I couldn't remember why. There was another lawn gnome on the ground beneath it. It continued further into the cave. Benjamin way ahead of us, me bringing up the tail, hobbling along the best I could with just a single crutch. The deeper we went, the narrower the cave, the stronger the smell. Nothing about being down here away from the gas station felt like an improvement from our previous situations, but it wasn't until we made it into the tree that I really decided we hadn't messed up. I don't know how long we had been walking down here, maybe half mile or so. Crutch miles feels a lot longer than normal miles, but we eventually came upon an enormous black tree, taking up the width of the cave. It looked like one of those 1,000-year-old sequoias, big enough to put a 2-lane road through. Holy shit, enunciated Benjamin. I was the last to see what everyone else was wide-eyed and gawking at. The tree, in addition to being enormous, had some characteristics that you wouldn't expect a tree to have, specifically human body parts. A few arms and legs poking out at random spots, and a right eye, level, a human face. Hey, said Marlborough. I know that guy, it's Patrick. He touched Patrick's face and it peeled off and plopped onto the ground like a wet Halloween mask. I don't think he's going to make it, Benjamin said, as he pulled something out of his jacket pocket and stuck it to the tree. What is that? I asked. Surprisingly, it was Marlborough who answered. That looks like a C4 plastic explosive to me. Benjamin chuckled. Wow, you win the prize for that one, Rain Man. Yeah, it's the last of my explosives. I've been trying to kill this thing piece at a time for the last week, but it just keeps growing back. I have to kill the root system, blow it up, and kill the brain, so the rest of the network will die. That was you that put the bomb in the gas station, I said. Yeah, well, back then I thought the building was the epicenter of this whole thing. Hey, interrupted Diego. Jack was still in the building when you planted that. I know. Guys, Marlborough tried to get their attention, but it wasn't working. You knew? He would have died if that thing went off. Guys, look, assholes, this is a war, and in a war, there are always casualties. You can't make peanut butter without smashing a few nuts. Hey, guys! What? Screamed Benjamin. I'm a little busy. Marlborough pointed back the way we came. We all turned to see Spencer standing in the middle of the path, a wicked smile on his face. Hi. Miss me? Diego screamed at me, Jack the gun! I pulled the weapon out of my pocket and chucked it as hard as I could. It smacked Spencer right in the face as he fell over. I was very proud for the 2 seconds it took me to realize what I had done wrong. What came next almost happened too quickly for me to comprehend. Something burst out of the wall next to us, an enormous object the size of a car and mostly hand-shaped. It writhed its giant fingers around the other 3 and pulled them into the wall, and then I was falling. The earth had opened up below me, and I was sliding through the dark tunnel. No, I was being pulled, more like swallowed. Really, I went for a while. Dirt filling my nose and ears and mouth, and then whatever it was spat me out into a pitch-black room and a rocky, wet piece of the ground. I landed on my bad leg, probably broke it again. Well, I thought, at least this time I managed to hit Spencer. As far as last moments on Earth go, this was one in a slight improvement over last week. The room I was in was cool, not cold, and cavernous. I could hear my breath echoing off the walls. I could also hear something else breathing. All at once I became aware of another presence down there, an entity in the room with me. It's hard to explain in the way that I remember it being hard to explain in the dream after you wake up. It's something you have to experience to understand, but the feeling was something like being plunged into a shared consciousness with another intelligence, and it was putting thoughts directly in my head. Of course, it might have just been the drugs. Welcome, welcome to my home, made a loud voice from somewhere in the pitch black room. I'm sorry it's taken this long for us to meet face to face. I can't see anything. Yeah, that was part of the... Yeah, what part of Dark God don't you understand? Oh, shit. I am in the throne room of a Dark God, and he sounds like an internet troll. I guess that makes sense. Might as well get this over with. Do you think you could maybe turn on some lights so I can actually see who I'm talking to? He let out a very human-sounding sigh and exclaimed, "Fine." Out of nowhere, the entire room turned into an intense, furious bright white. All I could see was pure light. I covered my eyes, but even then I could see the bones in my hands through my eyelids. Even with the meds, that shit hurt. Too bright, I yelled. Split the difference. Wow, responded the voice. I didn't realize that you were going to be such a big baby. And then, just as suddenly, the brightness relented. After a moment, my pupils adjusted, and I could see what I had been talking to. Behold, it exclaimed, and tremble before the dark god. He, if it was a he, I'm just going off of the sound of his voice, was about the size of an elephant, swollen around with a tanned yellow hide. The beast animal I could think of to compare him to would be an enormous tick with 6 rows of stubby arms on either side, 6 rows of sagging breasts, and a human-sized head on top. The head contained a somewhat human face and no neck, the body connected to the earth with the widest point of its stomach, like it was half buried, and on top of the whole thing off, he had a red mohawk. He smiled at me. What do you think? About what? My hair. Isn't it amazing? He looked up at his mohawk. I guess. You guess? Do you have any idea how much effort I put into doing my hair like this? You know what? It's fine. I shouldn't have wasted my time trying to impress you. That's on me. Okay, I said, attempting to push myself to my feet only to remember that my leg was pretty broken. I was immobilized underground, high, and without any weapons. There was really no chance of escape. If you're going to kill me, do you mind just getting it over with? What is it with you people? So untrusting, so prejudiced. Why is it that any time you see something you don't understand, you think it's kill or be killed? I'm not a monster here. You are. I can see into your soul. I've seen your sins. Remember the time when you were 15 and you keyed the principal's car? No. Really? Maybe that wasn't you. Humans all look alike. Why am I here? Why did you drag me underground? Because, Jack, I can't find any way of talking to you, and I wanted to tell you to stop killing my children. You've burned up so many of us, and what did we ever do to you, huh? The kefir plants? Yeah, just backups, because that idiot is so clumsy. They're harmless, though. I've been trying to put some people in office so I can get a little political influence in this awful town. To take over the world, I ask, even though I was starting to see where this conversation was going. No, I want to pressure the city council to cut back on logging. I'm trying to save the world, but you and your awful friends keep killing us and trying to blow me up. But Spencer, the beast, beat the shit out of me. That guy is awful, and he's following your orders. Well, excuse me for thinking that people have the potential to be rehabilitated. I hired Spencer because I needed somebody to protect Kiefer, and I gave him very specific orders not to kill anyone, which he agreed to. But you've killed tons of people, the cultists, their entire compound. Yeah, actually, no, I had to be the one to say this, but those guys killed themselves. Yeah, it was really sad mass suicide, but if you listen to them, I think it was pretty obvious you guys should have seen it coming from a mile away. I mean, consequentialism mixed with a moral obligation to end suffering. He waved one of his 6 arms in a jerk-off motion before continuing. I didn't want to let all those perfectly good formed adult bodies go to waste. Do you even know how hard it is to make one of those from scratch? It's not easy. But you send those things after us in the gas station, again with the self-centered hero complex. It was never about you. I summoned children to bring Spencer's body back here. I was hoping I could get him home in time to rebuild him without any permanent brain damage. I think next time you see him, you should apologize for what happened. I swear every time since Romeo made zombies cool. People are a dead man come back to life. Instantly they get this urge to kill, kill, kill. Whatever happened to calling this a miracle? Nobody freaks out when Jesus came back. Are you saying that Jesus was like those mathematics? Just reanimated corpses? Is this really what you want to talk about, Jack? But doesn't Dark God mean like evil? He sighed. Last time I was awake, Dark God had a completely different connotation, but you can't use my bragging as your excuse to burning can't use my branding as your excuse for burning up Kefla. You asked me. You deserve the ass whooping you got. But I searched my mind for proof that the Dark God was the monster I knew him to be. But the one thing I could come up with was a sad, icy cold realization. We're the monsters? I'm afraid so. I'm sorry. Good, that's a start. So this is it. You're the reason for all the weird stuff going on here at this gas station? He laughed again and wiggled his head, which I took for his version of shaking no. Nope. I'll be honest with you, I have no clue when half of these things are. Your gas station is weird, and even I do not know why. The hand plants and Keflas were me. The smell, I'll fess up, that's me too, but all the other stuff, man, it gives me the heebie-jeebies. You know that weird glowing web bug thing? That was pretty weird, huh? So, what do we do now? Now I send you and your friends back home and you quit killing me. That's my deal. Can we agree to that? Yeah, I think so. Good. Should we shake hands or... At the moment, an enormous hand burst out the wall and wrapped its fingers tightly around me. The next thing I knew, I was coughing up dirt, down on all fours, in the street outside of the gas station. It was morning. Oh, good, said Benjamin. You made it out too. I looked over and saw the other three standing there, covered in black dirt. I was back where it started. The trees were all gone, leaving no sign that they were ever there in the first place. The gas station was a wreck. The front doors were smashed out. The raccoons were excitedly running to a loot train for whatever edibles they could carry from front to their nest behind back. What happened, man? Asked Diego. I'm not really sure, I answered, digging the clumps of dirt out of my nose and ears. Well, you're lucky. Your friends made me wait a few minutes to give you a chance to get out. Look at my hands. They were nearly black from all the layers of dirt coating them. Wait, for what? I asked. For this, Benjamin answered as he pressed the button on his remote detonator. Somewhere deep in the woods came an explosion that rocketed the earth and sent birds flying into the sky. Diego's car alarm went off, and the pavement cracked. A black cloud slowly started to fill the sky, and I felt something inside my mind scream and die. Well, said Benjamin, my work here is done. If you don't mind, I'm going to get lost before 5-0 shows up. Then he walked off into the forest, hopefully never to be seen again. And that's what happened, if you can believe it. I'm back at the gas station working again. Arnold is on personal leave from the police force, and I didn't care to ask for details, so we have a new deputy babysitting us. I'll tell you all about her another time, maybe. The police investigated the incident and ultimately concluded that we were the victims of hysteria brought on by a gas leak, and once again, there was nothing supernatural to be reported. I don't know if this is the end of the Dark God, but I do know that I haven't felt any compulsions to continue digging ever since Benjamin blew up that underground tree. Things are settling back into our brand of normal. I still work way too much, I'm still keeping a journal, and weird things still happen at the shitty gas station at the edge of town. In fact, just yesterday, people started reporting that they had seen something in the woods that looked like an enormous raccoon with bat wings, stealing small animals before flying off into the forest. They even said this winged raccoon monster glows in the dark. Marlborough just came up to me and asked, "You know, there's a guy in the bathroom dressed like a cowboy." I assured him that I did not know that. This may be the last update for a while. It's going to be a lot of work putting this place to get back together, and I've got a whole new crew of part-timers to train. So until next time, Jack from the gas station. Credit gas station Jack. And that was the end of an incredibly long creepypasta. But, you know what, it was really good. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and have a good night and sweet dreams.